Hello, hi, how are you? This is Carla Metzdorf. I am a certified health and life coach that works with moms to overcome anxiety, and I am also admin to the group Overcoming Anxiety for Stressed Out Moms Who Have Had Enough. Today, I am coming on to talk to you about why mindset matters to overcome anxiety. And I want to make this the beginning of a month-long live training. Because what is a mindset? So I want to start off by giving a definition, because I love to give definitions because it keeps us on the same page. It helps us to understand what helps you to understand what I'm saying, okay? So what exactly is a mindset? I'm going to just jump right into it. I know that this is a really busy weekend coming up, so I just want to really focus on what mindset is, and I'm going to send you off because I'm sure a lot of you have a lot to do, a lot to prepare for this upcoming weekend, and some of you may be going away, but however you are celebrating this weekend, I hope that you're safe and I hope you really enjoy. But let's talk about mindset, because mindset is extremely important and it's talked about a lot, okay, to the point sometimes where people are like, that's all I hear is how mindset matters and mindset is everything, and everybody's saying that. But what does that have to do with anxiety, right? Why is it so important to have this great mindset so that you can overcome anxiety? Well, to understand is to know what mindset is. So from the time you're like a little girl, all right? From the time you're a little girl, you build a mindset, meaning you form beliefs, right? We start off not knowing much, but from the things that we see, that we hear, that we smell, we touch, right? What did I miss? I missed one. See, taste, right? The senses. We use our senses, right? To understand what it is that is before us in life, right? We give things meaning, right? Nothing has meaning until we give it meaning. So once we give it a meaning, we start forming our beliefs. Now, our beliefs, right? What they do is they shape how we think. Our beliefs shape how we think. So once we have our beliefs and our way of thinking, what happens after that is we start forming our attitude, how we are being in life. So our beliefs, our thoughts will shape who and how we are in life, right? So we are going to expect certain things in life, and we're going to start making assumptions about life depending on our beliefs. Everything stems from those beliefs. So once you have a belief in your head, right, your beliefs along with the thoughts and the attitude and the expectations and the assumptions that you make, right, this is your mindset. This is who you are being in life, okay? Along with that, this is going to determine your success. It's going to determine your happiness. Because what's going to keep you stuck, okay, from having that success, from having happiness, is that limiting belief that you may hold. That the way that you're thinking, right? That's what can keep you stuck. So it's going to be necessary to make a change in one or two of these things. Like change the belief. What is it that you're believing? Once you change one, the rest of it kind of follows. So let's say the biggest belief that I hear when coming from working with moms with anxiety is that it's hard. Everything is so hard, right? Anxiety, is a result of your fears, the worries, right? And then we have anxiety. So this does make it feel like life is so hard, especially when we're functioning from the emotional brain. So what becomes necessary is how can we make a shift in our minds, in our brains, right? So when we change the belief of this is hard, okay? So when we think everything's hard, the brain is going to work and help protect you because you think everything is hard. So your way of thinking is going to be, well, I don't know if I should do this. It looks hard. It seems hard. So what you do is you start avoiding, right? So because you have a belief that things are hard, your brain's going to protect you and you're going to start thinking everything is hard. This is going to be your way of being. So your attitude is, well, that's hard. That's hard. I don't know if I want to do that. That's hard. So you might start taking the easy way out of things. You may not necessarily have anxiety at first, but you might find yourself, I'd rather do something else because it's a little bit easier that way. Is this making sense so far, ladies? You know what? I gotta find us in the group. I keep looking at the phone, but I am not, I haven't found the live training in the group yet. I don't see it. And I don't know why. That is crazy. I'm just updating the group so that I can, oh, there I am. Hi, Melanie. Ladies, when you come on, say hi. I know, you're probably all busy getting ready for the big celebration this weekend. But what's going to help you to have a better celebration is to understand that you have a mindset. You have something that's keeping you stuck, and you can change that mindset at any moment. Hey, Tiffany. So, there are two types of mindsets. First of all, I just gave a good definition of mindset, and I was given, a good example of what mindset is. Did everybody get a good understanding? Anybody need clarity? That, your mindset is just basically your beliefs, your thoughts, your attitude, the expectations and the assumptions that you make. All of that form your mindset, because all of that determines who you are in life, who you're going to be, and what you're going to experience. That's why having the right mindset is so important. But we'll discuss more on that. But there are two different types of mindsets, okay? There is a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Now, somebody who has a fixed mindset is somebody who's very close-minded. In other words, you have the type of mindset that you are set that, let's say, I can't overcome anxiety. There's no way you can overcome anxiety. There's no such thing. Anxiety is something I've had all my life, and I'll always be anxious. I don't care what anybody says. I've tried for years. It's impossible. And you're not really open to anything new anymore. You're not trying anything. You're giving up. You have these beliefs. It's hard. It's impossible. The way you're thinking, you're telling yourself, there's nothing we can do anymore. The attitude is just very negative. You're having expectations of, I'm going to be like this forever, right? So a fixed mindset is going to keep you stuck in that anxiety cycle. Whereas a growth mindset, okay, now a growth mindset, ladies, is somebody who's very open to something new, okay? Despite the beliefs, the thinking that you have, you're open to hearing, listening, and doing something that's going to help you get those results. You're open to change. You want to change, you're very open to it, and you are going to keep going until you see change. Does that make sense? Is anybody, need clarification? Do you have a closed mindset? Do you have a fixed mindset? Anybody want to share? Share with me what you have. Just put it in there. Because when you have that open mindset, right, you're going to work until you see change and you're not going to give up. Makes sense, Tiffany? Great. Good. So, let's just talk briefly about how do you get that right mindset to overcome anxiety, right? Because you've heard people say, well, I'm not in the right mindset today. But what do they even mean by that, right? So what they just mean by that is that they're not focused on what they think they should be focused on to get the job done, right? I have an open mindset because I don't want to give up on hope or change. That's awesome. I just got healed. I have to watch from the beginning later. That's fine, Abby. I mean, that's what the replays are for. But Tiffany, that's great. I mean, just because you have anxiety doesn't mean you have a fixed or a closed mindset. It just means that somebody with an open mindset, okay, a growth mindset, is somebody, you may still have anxiety, but you just keep going and you don't give up. You keep trying and trying, knowing that it's possible. And you keep your mindset, the belief is still, I can do this, right? You keep your beliefs and your thoughts positive. You keep it focused on getting results, okay? So, how do we get into that right mindset to overcome anxiety? Like, let's just jump right into it. I know, ladies, busy weekend. I have a busy weekend too, so let's just jump right into this. So, how do we do that? Number one, you always know awareness is my first step, right? We need to be aware, okay, that we're holding on to some kind of belief that's keeping us stuck, right? Or we're thinking things that's sabotaging our efforts to overcome. Does that make sense, ladies? Something is keeping us stuck. It's usually a belief or a way of thinking, and we're not in the right attitude. When you hear yourself being very negative, right? And you catch yourself having these really negative thoughts, how is that going to be the right mindset to overcome anxiety? That's why awareness is key, right? Have this awareness that I am not in the right mindset right now, and I need to build the right mindset. So, acknowledge, I'm being negative right now. I just told myself how hard this is. I just felt myself go, oh, I'm not doing this because it's too hard. Is that going to get me results? That's catching yourself and having awareness, okay? So, have awareness, acknowledge it, right? And then you wanna, the next step would be like, okay, those who, like I say, self-love, those who love themselves, okay, are the ones who have more of that growth mindset I was talking about. When you love yourself, all right, you practice self-care. You get into that mindset of, I need to work on myself. I need to find the time, the resources, no matter what, okay? I gotta stop making excuses, and I gotta do something. But what's going to help you is having that love and self-respect for yourself and giving yourself grace. To practice self-care, giving yourself grace to do the work, to make the change. Is that making sense, ladies? Does anybody need any clarification? And I understand, oh, that's hard. I get it, because you're a mom, you have family comes first. You can't even think about, sometimes you can't even think about, oh, what, I gotta put my family aside and just focus on myself and my well-being when, I gotta run the kids around and I gotta feed them and make sure, everything, my husband's happy, we have a lot of responsibility, and I get it. But let me remind you, as a mom, if you're down, okay, you have this responsibility, you know that you have a big job taking care of your family, but if mom is down, mom is not right, mom is not feeling good, she's not in the right mindset, guess what happens? The family unit can also break down. You want to be there not just for yourself, but for your family. So that step of loving yourself, okay, practicing this self-care so you could be better for yourself and your family, it's very important. It's more important than you even know. It's just so important. Okay? So the next step in developing the right mindset, okay, we're having awareness, and acknowledging that we're not in the right mindset to do whatever it is that we need to do, but we have to come from that place of love for ourselves and respect for ourselves to take care of ourselves. But the next thing is, you want to start focusing on what is basically focusing on, to build that positive and have a growth mindset. Focus on the good. Focus on your blessings. We're so focused on the problem that sometimes we can't even fathom that something good could come out of it, right? So that's why sometimes we get stuck in a belief, because we're just so focused on that problem. We repeat the same thoughts over and over and over again, and we're not changing anything. We're still living with that belief that things are hard, it's so hard. And because we're not changing, we stay stuck. But if we can, what I always say, flip the switch, change perspective, find the good amongst the problem that is present in your life, there's always something good to focus on, ladies. Always, always, always. Even with the death of my parents, I was still able to find something good to focus on. Believe it or not. So what you want to repeat are thoughts that align with what you want. Okay? Change the outlook. Make that shift. Right? We kind of talked about that last week when I was talking about identifying with anxiety, right? We need to It's the way your outlook on life, okay? Because if you always identify as I am the worrisome, anxious mom, and I am, but what about, okay, I'm feeling anxious, I'm experiencing anxiety, but I know, okay, that, I'm so blessed because even if all you could say is, I have my family, I have food to eat, those are, focus on the good. Get your mind going in the right direction. So if you want peace in your life, let's say, okay, you're looking to have peace, what do you need to focus on to have peace in that moment? So your main focus wants to be in the present moment, right? So have this awareness, acknowledge what is going on in your life and get really present. Have love for yourself in that moment and give yourself grace that what you're feeling, okay, is it's temporary because it's futuristic. Anxiety is in the future. What am I worried about? What am I focused on? That's keeping me where I am right now. What needs to be changed? How is my outlook on life? What is the belief? What am I making meaning? What is the belief that I'm holding on to? What am I giving meaning to? The next step, really, it still requires focus. But when you have anxiety, I know it's very hard to feel motivated to do anything. I mean, when you're anxious, it's so much easier, right, to avoid. I mean, that's what anxiety is. With anxiety, we avoid what's hard. We avoid what makes us uncomfortable, what makes us feel unsafe, right? But I do this when in my program, in my signature program where I work with clients. In the very first session, we set goals and we discover what the whys are. And the reason for that is because I know with your anxious mindset, okay, you're not in the right mindset right now. But when you understand what your goals are and what your whys are, in other words, your whys are those reasons for your being, your reasons for the whys are the reasons why you want to overcome anxiety. Why do you want to overcome anxiety? Now, when I suffered for years, right, no matter what I did, sometimes it felt like, sometimes I felt like, all right, I could do this. And other times it was like, I'm going to have this forever. I'm just going to be like this forever. And then one day, my husband was getting frustrated with me and I felt it. And he was like, Carla, please don't do this. He was just like, please, like I can feel the frustration. And I said, you know what? I knew in that moment that if change didn't happen soon, I didn't get into that right mindset, I was going to lose my husband and my children. I had to do something. So my why, anytime I started sabotaging, anytime I felt like I didn't have motivation, I remembered my why. Why is this important? Why do I have to do this? Why? Because I love my family. And I know if I don't get into the right mindset and I don't follow through, I might lose my family. And without my family, I mean, I was already feeling bad about myself. So focus on goals. Understand what it is you want to do in life, okay? What are those goals you're trying to reach? How are you going to reach those goals? So that when you do work on your mindset and you do feel like you're going to sabotage and the thoughts are telling you, oh, this is hard, this is so hard, and you want to avoid, right? And you don't feel the motivation. You're like, oh God, I know I should do this, but I can't. I just don't. I can't. Think of your why. Put a picture of your why in front of you. Carry it with you everywhere. Whatever is going to anchor you into your why, carry that with you so that you always have that reminder. Hi ladies, more and more of you are coming on. I'm talking today about why mindset is important to overcome anxiety. And you know, so we discussed a lot already. So of course, catch the replay. As soon as this is done, you could jump on the replay. So I just got through talking about changing focus and understanding your goals and your whys. But the next thing is having patience, okay? Not only do you become unmotivated when you are anxious, but having patience or becoming very impatient, okay? Patience, you want to feel good now. Like, I feel so bad. Who wants to take another 6 months to do work and try to overcome this? That is why a lot of people resort to distraction and to taking medication. Because although they're very short term, we do that because at least we get relief for whatever amount of time that it gives you relief for. But none of that is long term. I'm all about long term, okay? I want you to change your mindset so that you get long-term results, not short-term results. And it is possible. And it happens the moment you make the decision, okay, that no matter what, you're going to keep going, okay? You're not going to allow your beliefs, your present beliefs that you hold, and the thinking that you have to sabotage you. But we become very impatient because we want it now. I don't want to wait months. What are you going to do for me now? Having patience, okay? You know, we think of patience as waiting, okay? A period of waiting, right? It's waiting without becoming impatient, right? But having patience is so much more than that. Your patience is your attitude, really. It's the attitude that you're having as you are working to overcome anxiety. The better, you know, the more patience you have, you're giving yourself grace to do the work. It's like acceptance. You're having more acceptance of what it is you're going through. So let me just update the group because I see more and more people coming on and I don't know if anyone's asking questions or, ladies, if you need clarification or if you have questions, just put it in the group, okay? You know, and share with me. Just share it me, anything, about your mindset, any questions about it, because having the right mindset matters. And we know that in order to have the right mindset, to get to that right mindset to overcome anxiety, we need to have awareness, okay? We need to love ourselves so that we do the work. We need to be present, okay? So that we can focus on the blessings and the good in the present time. Despite the anxiety we're feeling, we have so much good to focus on. If anything, we have goals in life. We have whys. So focus on those goals, those whys that you have in your life. Why do I need this? Why is this necessary for me to do? Practice patience. Patience is who you're being as you're waiting to recover from this. It's who you're being in every given moment, right? And the last thing I want to talk about, ladies, is creating, okay, being an overcomer, being a conqueror, having that spirit of a conqueror. Now, ladies, these steps I'm giving you, I didn't get from a book. It's not like I opened up a book and they gave me steps. These are things that I know I had to set in place to give me the right mindset to overcome anxiety, okay? What I mean by being a conqueror, okay? A conqueror, all right, I talked about growth mindset, all right? You have to have a growth mindset, all right? A mindset that's open to change. Even though you're anxious, even though you've had a lot of ups and downs, you will not give up. Your attitude is, I can change, I will change, I don't care how uncomfortable this gets, I'm gonna keep going because I know this is possible to overcome. Okay? I'm gonna come out of my comfort zone, I'm gonna face that fear, and I'm gonna be the person who takes action that's going to lead me to victory. This is going to help me to have success. People with a growth mindset, right? With the right mindset, these people are happier in life because you feel in control, right? And when you feel in control, you feel more confident and more secure. And not only that, but these people who have a growth mindset have more success because you're open-minded, right? You're more of a problem solver. I'm not going to give up. I am a conqueror. No matter what problem comes my way, I'm not going to just give in. I'm going to stop focusing on the problem and start focusing on a solution. And with the right mindset, I'm going to make it happen because I'm not going to let my beliefs and my way of thinking get in the way. Even though, okay, you make mistakes, you don't go, that's it, I made a mistake, this is hard, I give up. You allow those mistakes to teach you. You learn from them. As a matter of fact, your mistakes become motivation. Because from those mistakes, it makes you even go more of, I want to get this right. And I'm going to get this right. I'm going to overcome. So people with growth mindset feel better about life, right? In general, just feel better about life. Because when you're not in the right mindset, right? You're in a very negative mindset, you feel kind of yucky about life, right? Things are dull in life, you know? But having the right mindset, instead of telling yourself that life sucks all the time, right? Despite the fact that you have anxiety, I'm experiencing anxiety, but I'm so blessed in this life. And I know that I'm going to get there. You have something to look forward to, okay? So people with a growth mindset, they adapt to change easier, better, okay? Because they are more open to learning the knowledge and the skills to gaining the right insight that they need to make that change, to implement and make that change, to respond differently to the anxiety, to the thing that is causing the anxiety, that's giving them, what is giving you anxiety, your central nervous system, of course, is set off, right? It's a response. But what happened before that? We use anxiety as an excuse to stay stuck sometimes, but when we have a growth mindset, we see that nothing outside of us gives us anxiety. We're open to the fact that we need to take responsibility for who and what who we are and what we're doing in every moment. We adapt to the unknown, because our biggest fear is the unknown, right? That's our biggest fear. I just don't know. That's what all the futuristic what if, and we scare ourselves silly. And then we start focusing on how we feel and the thoughts that are, in our minds. But when you have a growth mindset, this is what's possible for you, right? So, ladies, this is why mindset, when you hear that mindset matters, or that mindset is everything, it's true. It's absolutely true. I came across a woman once on Facebook who actually did a whole post about how that's BS, basically, that mindset is everything. And she started to say that, I don't remember the whole post, but I couldn't even get past that she disagreed with that. Because anybody who gets stuck in a belief, who does not change their way of thinking, okay? Albert Einstein, he was famous for saying, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that started them, right? We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that started them. Now, if you don't believe that, if you believe that your beliefs, your thinking has nothing to do with your anxiety, okay, you're fooling yourself. Yes, your central nervous system is sensitized, it's stuck. You do have to calm down the central nervous system. But it got there in the first place because of the interpretations, the meaning you gave something. Is that all making sense? Ladies, can you give me a 1? Yes, it makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. Let me know what you think about that. Your mindset is very, very important. And I didn't get this from a book either, but working off Albert Einstein, okay, I have said You cannot overcome anxiety with the mindset that created the anxiety. Now, I have said that hundreds of times. I did not get that from a book or whatnot. I just read what Albert Einstein said and said, you know what? There's no way you can overcome anxiety with that same mindset. You have to change. You want to overcome anxiety? Change the mindset. Take the steps that I propose. And you will get results, but not until you make the decision, okay, to make a change. And it is possible. There was a time that scientists were actually telling us that you can't change the brain. Once things are programmed in there, it's you can't change it. But we know now that we can change. You can change, right? Take the time to understand that you can change. Make those changes. And you will change your life. All right, ladies, that's what I got. And happy 4th of July, 250 years of freedom. We're celebrating, and I wish you all a very, very safe 4th of July, because people are probably going to go crazy with fireworks, so just please be safe. And I don't know where you are in the United States. We're from all over, but where I am, there is a heat advisory warning. So, I mean, if you're in my area in New York, drink lots of water, you know, get cool, be in the pool, get in air conditioning, do what you gotta do to keep cool. If there's heat advisory, drink that water, you know, take care of yourselves, okay? Be well, ladies. And if you need me, just message me. But I am pretty much going to be off the grid all day tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay? I'm not going to be working. So I will see you on Monday. Okay? Have a great one. And if there's any questions at all, put them in the comments, for any, especially for those who are watching the replay, and I'll get right back to you. All right? Same here in North Carolina. Be cool and safe and happy 4th. Yeah, Tiffany, definitely be cool and safe. It's going to be it's already. That's why I look like this, and I got the fan going, the central air. It's already 97 degrees outside. With the humidity, it's like 102. You go outside my door, it's like you can't breathe. It's crazy, the heat. It really is. So please be safe, ladies. And, you know, don't be afraid to message me. In between festivities, I will message you back if you need me. And I'm always there for my clients. Always, always. But everybody else, message me if you need me, and I will eventually get back to you. Take care. Be well. Bye, ladies.